In 1942, the United States Army Map Services began hiring female cartographers. Edith Putnam Parker was a geography professor at the University of Chicago. She was recruited for the position of Educational Director of the Army Map Service Training Program. She designed the 60-hour course that women who are not geography majors could take and then be considered for employment by the Army Map Service. Not long after, an additional 4-week class was being offered to help further their understanding and education in cartography. By the end of the first year, approximately 200 women were employed and were nicknamed the Military Mapping Maidens, or the 3 M's for short. The term Military Mapping Maidens is given to the women cartographers by the editor of the magazine AMS Reference Point, B. McPherson, who joined the Army Map Service in 1943, stated that the female cartographers thought the nickname was appropriate and rather cute. One particular and local military mapping maiden is Dorothy Nordham Myers. Dorothy was an Army draftsman from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She entered the Army Map Service in 1942 at 18 years old, right after graduating high school. She was recruited by the Army Map Service and ended up applying. She had to complete a drawing test and an interview before being hired.
30 of us applied, and only about 5 or 6 of us made it into the drafting of the maps.
She was hired in June of 1942, and after that she attended a 2-week drafting class and then immediately got into drafting. Dorothy, like other draftsmen, worked 7 days a week, totaling roughly 80 hours per week. They were not given a day off, even holidays, except for Christmas. That was the only exception.
We worked 10 or 12-hour days, 7 days a week, especially when there was an invasion coming, and you never knew what shift we were going to be on. Sometimes I worked from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., or sometimes I was on the morning shift and worked from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. It just depended on who they needed and when they needed them.
When an invasion was occurring, they would work straight through until the job was completed. Invasions were a big part of what Dorothy and the other draftsmen often focused their time on.
I do have a map of Hiroshima, so we did sections of Japan. I'm not positive that we did Hiroshima, but there were lots of invasions. That's what we did. As to invasions, we knew something was going on when we had to work so much, but we were never told where it would be or when it would be. That was all a secret.
She remained in the Army Map Service until 1947. At the time, she was drafting Russian maps.
They closed our office because it didn't need all those people. And then they asked if you wanted to be transferred to Washington. You could, but that was the extent. About 300 couldn't all go to Washington, but maybe 1 or 2, so most of them stayed in Pittsburgh. I stayed in Pittsburgh.
Dorothy continued drafting for 1.5 years at a gas company. She then moved on to being a secretary and then a stay-at-home mom.
Give me 1 dozen roses, put my heart in beside them, and send them to the one I love. She'll be glad to receive them, and I know she'll believe them. That's something we've been talking of.
The contribution to the war effort is just sort of something you just did, and it was your chance to do something that we didn't feel was important, and it was just a job. It wasn't. It was important, but we didn't feel like it was important. We didn't know it was important.